we have a little puppy,
Yeah.
you know, we say, oh, they're teething.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
yeah. They're teething.
And so they would bite you,
Yes.
and you were supposed to say, ouch,
Oh, yes, I have learned that from a training class.
to let them know you hurt.
But maybe you sound like it.
But the squeaky toys say go the other way,
Yeah.
right? This is the problem.
Yeah.
Because the squeak says bite harder.
Yeah, because I'm not dead yet. It's
You understand?
conflicting
And-
information.
And that's why people that turn away from their dog or say ouch or whatever,
Yeah, it excites
they
them.
retreat.
Yeah.
They become weak. They become prey.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
So it
yes.
emboldens the dog to become assertive and dominant.
Right. Because they like the feeling.
Yes, they're connected to it.
Yeah. Until it becomes neurotic.
Right. And it's going to become neurotic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not entering the stomach.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When we wake up the predatory side of the dog, that is designed to satisfy the stomach.
Right. There was a purpose for why they did that.
Exactly. It's like 360
It's
degrees.
true. Because in the wild, you wouldn't expend energy to hunt. Hunting takes a lot of energy.
Right.
You would only do that for eating.
Food, right.
Yeah.
You know, I say on my one of my videos, the cheetah is the fastest thing on four legs.
Oh, yeah.
You're never going to see him getting his laps in the morning.
No, yes, yes, he did.
No animal burns energy in nature
Right.
unless it's designed for
Yeah.
food.
Because otherwise they burn energy. They'll need more fuel.
Exactly. So now they're in a domesticated world with us. And we say dogs need to be chasing things and they need to be running after this and that. And let me give them this squeaky toy. And let me give them this ball. Let me wake up this hormone
Yeah,
that's
hormone.
never going to be satisfied.
Yeah,
And so it makes them neurotic.
yeah,
And that's the problem I have with training and the toys. Because what happens is the dog gets lost on this path,
right,
right? That's the Australian Shepherd that's chasing the little kid that's running,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
that
Because we
happens a
wake
lot.
up that thing in them. You know, every dog has a genetic predisposition to be this way or that way, some more than others,
Right.
right? This dog may have more energy.
Yeah,
So the human being looks at that. And because they are not good observers,
yeah,
they look at it and they say, how can I have some of that? Right? And so they attach themselves to it and they go get the ball and the frisbee and the,
Oh,
right?
right.
And so something that on a scale of 1 to 10 that would have been a 3 now becomes a 9 or a 10.
Right.
And then later we say, he's bad
Yeah.
because he's so crazy, so jumpy, right? We blame him.
Right. Because now it's overwhelming to the person.
Exactly. And we say, well, why did you do that with him? And the answer is always the same. I just want to make him happy. Right?
Yeah.
Everything we do to our dog,
It is good intention.
It's good intentions.
Good intention.
right? But
Yeah.
because we don't understand the law,
Right.
we don't understand that law. And that's why when I say, jump off this balcony, I really mean that if you don't know the law, if you think that you're going to go up
Right.
and you don't know for sure you're going to go down, you're going against that law.
Yeah.
And you're going to pay for that. Right?
No, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's a law. Once I was in court, and we were trying to decide whether this dog was going to live or die. For some reason, the judge came in, and they usually don't ask you. They want to know who you are, but they don't ask you questions.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like in one of the shelter type hearings. So he's asking me, so what do you do? And I said, well, he said, you're the trainer? And I said, well, no, I don't train. He says, what do you mean you don't train? I said, well, I don't do the traditional positive reinforcement. So he says, well, what do you do? Negative reinforcement? And I said, no, it's not positive or negative. It's just nature. And I teach people how not to end up in this courtroom. So he says, what do you mean negative, positive? I mean, if it's not positive, it must be negative, right? And I said, okay, let's look at it this way. When I come into your courtroom, they tell us we have to turn our cell phones off, take our hats off, and, And we come into your courtroom, and when you come out, you're not here today to do positive reinforcement. You're here to discipline and dominate. Okay? And you're not going to hand out treats today. You're going to hand out sentences. So I teach people how not to come in here to see you by teaching them how to discipline and dominate their dog. Because most of the dogs that come in to see you are because people are doing this positive reinforcement at the wrong time for the wrong reason. You see?
Right.
And the feeling that I have, and most of these people that come into this room, when you come in to your chair, is submissive. Right? And we're going to do everything you tell us to do in this room. And because of that, you're not going to handcuff us and lock us up. Right? So if we could teach our dogs to have that same feeling towards us that you have on us, then we won't be here. And just that conversation alone caused him to say, hey, we're going to send that dog to you and come back before we decide whether we're going to kill him or not. But he got that. He had to hear it that way. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Because you're talking his language.
His language.
That's the whole thing about all
right. But even him, when he thought about training, he said, oh, so it's negative. I said, well, do you think what you're doing is negative? He said, no, it's the law. Right? And so I told him, I said, there is a law that's greater than this law. And it's the law of nature. So if the dog is bound by that law and the human being comes in and alters it, then who's really to blame? Why should we kill the dog? When we know that we can go back and fix that just by practicing the law of nature,
Right.
and the dog can live a different life. And he got it. I was so happy, to be able to, because that never happens, to be able to have that experience with him, that dialogue, and for him to see it. Because I was just thinking about how he made me feel.
Yeah.
When you walk into the court.
You definitely understand what the rules are and who's in charge.
Exactly.
Because the consequences
Right.
are so severe.
Exactly. And when he tells you to do something,
You do
we're
it.
happy to do it.
We're happy to do
Yes, Your Honor. What's wrong with that with our dogs?
That was a good analogy.
Is it? Okay, good. Because I just fell into it. It was like perfect because I remember how I feel. I hate, look, let me say this. There are two fears, and I mentioned to you, that we are born with. And every other fear is learned. But when you're in that courtroom and the courtroom comes to order or it ends and that judge takes that gavel and wham!
Yes.
They know what they're doing.
I know.
They're producing that fear.
They really are. With
No,
the sound.
I'm telling you, it's so powerful.
Yes.
People don't even notice that they are playing that
Yes.
game, okay? And they say, wham! Court's adjourned or whatever. It's that sound that we're genetically born with. Now, that fear of falling, which is the other, is not just necessarily physically falling. It's mentally, emotionally falling, a defeat, And when you're on your way to court, this is how this thing works. When you're on your way to court, you're feeling that feeling of falling and
Right.
losing. So by the time you get there, they've already got you.
Right. They have. I didn't think about that.
Oh, that's the law.
Yeah.
You see? So everything, is
Well,
we
that's
really.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
They set up a hierarchy so you understand.
Yes. When you come in.
Yeah.
And they make
This
sure
is
that
the
bailiff
process.
is there.
Yeah.
He's got that gun on him.
Yeah.
He's looking at you. He's telling you what to do. That's what's happening, And then we get out of there. We say, oh, my gosh, I'm so glad to be out of here. Right? And then the next time you get ready to run that stoplight, you say, I remember that feeling.
Oh, I know.
That's called consequence therapy. So when I talk to people about how to become better owners for our dog, I'm really teaching you how to be that judge. Do you know what I'm saying? Because if you are a judge, you can be judge and jury. right? There's
I
some
mean, you're
judges.
supposed to be fair.
Right.
Judges are fair.
But I'm just saying, sometimes you go in front of the judge and he's the one who decides,
yes,
right?
yes,
Or you
yes.
can have the jury.
Mhm.
You can be judge and jury.
Right, right.
So if there's one thing that you can do in your life with your dog, it is to be that. And if you're successful at doing that and your dog does what you want them to do, you have this wonderful life.
Yeah.
And after a period of time of doing it, you don't have to tell them. They just automatically get it.
I'm waiting
Like, for
that.
example, when the dog that was jumping up,
Yeah.
one little thing,
Yes.
that sound,
Yeah.
he remembered
He
that
did.
now you just pick, he says, okay, I remember what that means. And he went away.
He did.
Okay, now, is there any need to tell him that he was a good boy? Let's think about this. We would think, oh, I got to say he's a good boy. But as if I said that, then it's going to stick. No, that's just too much talking.
He already
What's
learned it.
good is that you don't have to do this anymore.
Right. Yeah. That was immediate.
Yeah, immediate.
3 times.
But we think, oh, let me tell him he's wonderful, so that he'll remember that. He got it. If you start telling him he's wonderful, you're going to raise the cortisol level again. Maybe he'll come over and jump on you again, sending mixed messages, right?
Yeah.
Because of how he learned, good boy.
Right. He'll come and think, well, you told me to go away.
Exactly.
Now you want me to come to you. So confusing.
It's confusing.
That's so you're needy.
Right. So this is a whole new way of looking at this thing. It's so elusive, though, you know? But look,
Well, you have to break it down, and I think we aren't present enough to break down the action. So we make connections when there may not have been connections. 'Cause
Right.
We're not paying attention.
exactly. Exactly.
We're not observing.
But there's a, you know, I think that I was being prepared for this long time ago when I was mauled by a dog. I don't know it. There's a saying that people say that wherever you are today, at some point in your life, you made an appointment to be here. You know?
I mean, a lot of people say this was a bad experience or a good experience, and I always think when you look at your life holistically, those bad experiences could have been good experiences.
They are good.
Right? So there's
Yeah.
no good or bad. It's just about learning.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So I get that.
Yeah, you know, and if we could just accept that, you know, and not look at it as something bad, because it is consequences. Everything that happened to you that you may have considered to be bad prevented you from doing it again. So actually, it made things better. You remember, before you leave the bank, count your money,
Oh yeah.
right?
Well,
Because you were shortchanged once.
Well, I was thinking just dog park. I saw that behavior ranger, and I only saw one time. I was like, okay, I don't know how to work with this problem.
hmm
I don't know how to deal with this dog. We need to go see someone.
Right.
Now, we could just look at it as, oh, I have this dog and I can't fix him. He's aggressive.
Right.
But it was a good thing that it happened.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, it's what we needed.
yeah.
It produced something in us that made us think. That fear. We said, "Ooh, you know, how do I handle this?
How do I do this?
Do I run from it? You know?"
Yeah.
And that's the biggest things with my clients, because of the way society thinks. When there are things that I ask them to do, sometimes they can't do it because it's like, what do they think of me?
Oh, right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what do they think of you? I think, people think that they're failures. I don't think that. I just think, okay, I can be better.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the tools are.
Right, but I mean, even when you give them the tools, sometimes they can't do
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because of what someone else may think. You know, and that's the big deal here. You know, that's why we have the alumni group where people can talk to
Yeah.
them. But it's holding us back, you see,
Yeah.
because we're not being truthful.
Yeah.
You know, we want everybody to think, I'm a good person, and
Right.
I would never do this or that. But they have no problem. You know, I've seen people that I will ask them to do something with their dog, and
Yeah.
someone else, not knowing, doesn't know how to observe,
Oh, yes.
will have their 2 cents to
Yes,
say
Yes.
and tell them they're a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that same scenario where the person didn't do it, the dog lunged at that type of person,
Yeah.
and that person says, you should put that dog to sleep.
Yeah.
He's a danger.
Yes.
So that same person that doesn't want to feel uncomfortable with the correction
Yes.
has no problem saying kill.
Yes.
That's a problem to me.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So we don't want to deal with things,
Yeah.
you see,
Mm-hmm.
unless it makes us happy. It's like going to the psychiatrist and say, I want help, but don't make me feel bad,
Right.
right?
I was at a pet store, and I had the walking stick with me. I told them that, is it okay? I'm going to use a walking stick inside. And they said, oh, well, most people just use shock collars. And
Yeah.
I said, well, I want the dog to choose to behave in the right way without that kind of a punishment.
Right.
I never even thought about going in the direction of a shock collar.
But just think about that.
Yeah.
No problem pushing the button,
Yeah.
right? I've asked people, have you ever put that collar on you? And some people said, I'll try it. And I said, okay, what level do you have it on in your dog? And they'll say 3.
Oh,
I said, well, don't do 3. Let's just put 1. Would you do it with 1? They said, no, I'll do it with 3. I said, no, just do it with 1.
oh.
So they put it on 1, and it jumped out of their seat. And I said, now, can you imagine what 3 is? And they were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would you
know.
do that?
I thought that was a very interesting response.
Yeah. Or the prong collar. Okay?
They said both. Shock, or why don't you use prong? And
Yeah.
I said,
Here's the deal. I should teach people how to use them. But what I found was, once the prong collar goes on, it never comes off the dog. So I said, no, that's not how this is supposed to be used.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So then, as time goes on, every year, or every so often, when you are centered, you will go to a different level. And I have. I've grown in this business. And my emotional attachment, how I do things, why I do things, it just organically happens. And so I started saying, we're stuck on using these things, what to do. And as I learned how to be more, all of these things I talk against now. A lot of trainers and people use them, but I don't.
Right.
So I want to control them from the inside
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And I find it very interesting that a person has no problems yanking the prong collar or shocking them.
Yeah.
But if someone
With the noise aversion, they were very
right,
Yeah.
resistant to it.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show me how much more interaction and learning and teaching that we have to do, and how this message has to get out to people.
Yeah. At the end of that, so I was in that pet shop for a little bit of time, and they saw that Ranger was responding to the sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, are you a trainer? I said, no, I'm not a trainer. I'm just learning myself. I'm working with a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we need to have someone come talk to our people about that, because I didn't realize that could change your dog's behavior.
Wow. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. You
So
see?
I gave them your name. And I said, well, there's other ways, and every
Yeah, it's
dog
time
is
for
different.
the Fouche Way walking stick.
Well, I said, every
another
dog
product.
is different. My dog is responding to this.
That's a great example, because as I was telling Donnie, that the reason they're having problems with that little girl is because she's mentally and physically dominant.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if you don't know that alone could change your whole relationship with your dog. But no one's ever taught you to even think in those directions.
Right.
You see?
Right.
So that when I go out with her, because I know she's that, she responds to me right away. So you don't have to wait. You
Right.
can have what you want right away if you have the knowledge.
Animal psychology and communication, we don't really learn about that when we learn about the behaviorist training, the behavior modification training. You don't really learn that part. You don't learn the why, the rationale.
Oh, okay.
They
You mean with
teach
people?
You, with the dogs, like they teach you to sit, lay down, but they don't tell you how dogs think and why.
All right.
And so it's not long term.
Well, what's happening is they've read a book, and everyone reads that book, and they just do it.
They just do.
They just do it. And I'm saying those days are leaving. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
How many people read books now? It's all on the internet, right? I mean, just think of the technology,
Yeah.
how fast we're moving, you know?
Yeah.
But one thing that's consistent is nature,
Yes.
okay? It never changed. It's been the way since we were born, before we were born, and when we're gone, nature knew how to raise its creatures. And those animals on the Serengeti Plain or living that life,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we, as human beings, can understand what I'm trying to say, and I'm saying it in different ways because everyone doesn't need to hear it the same way, but we've got to see that when we go back in time, the way nature says it should be is perfect. We will be successful with our dogs. We will be successful with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I am different today because of them. And if I could thank them 1,000 times a day, it would not be enough for what they've done for me, what they taught me, an animal. It's amazing. And whether you're religious or not, doesn't matter what that is, or what you call God or spirit or whatever, those who know dog spelled backwards is God. That alone, for me, is a connection of why we have this unconditional love. It's that energy that they're waiting for us. They're waiting for us.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait for them.
Right.
They're waiting for us.
They're always waiting for us to be the best we can be.
Exactly.